Welcome to another session live with me, Megha Mawandia, on Trio Crazing Parents. I am logging in from sunny, well, not so sunny, but more like rainy Goa, and enjoying this beautiful weather while looking really forward to have this conversation with all of you today. I'm going to have some really fascinating people join us in our conversation today. I have Gopika Kapoor, who is an advocate, someone who really works and supports individuals who identify neurodiverse and supports families through neurodiverse diagnosis and adaptation skills, all of that. So I have Gopika Kapoor joining us, and with us we have a parent who found out about her child being neurodiverse. She's joining in to talk about her journey and her family's journey, Dr. Gayatri Rao. And I have Rishabh Birla, who's this fantastic person who discovered his neurodiversity later on in life and has become a great advocate, and we're going to have him share with us what that has meant for him. So I can see a lot of people online already. So hi everyone. So glad that you all have joined us, and I'm just waiting for Gopika to join us so that we can get started on this conversation. While we wait for Gopika to join us, I thought, why not just talk a little bit about what neurodiversity means? And if any of you have any things you'd like to share in the messages below, I'd love to hear those things that you'd like to share, and just extending these conversations on neurodiversity. So the way I look at neurodiversity is really no different from our fingerprints. You know, we have unique fingerprints, and we understand the importance of the uniqueness of these fingerprints so much that we not only appreciate and celebrate the differences, we're also able to use it to catch perpetrators and get down to identifying who it could be based on the fingerprint. So we look at the uniqueness of the fingerprint as the uniqueness of an identity of a person. If we can do that with something as, to be honest, insignificant like a fingerprint, what would it look like if we could celebrate and understand the uniqueness of our brains and what it means for us and what it does for us in an everyday setting? Our brains are not they're not categorizable. They are not they're not supposed to be carbon copies of each other. They are designed to be unique. They are unique, and they are continuously evolving based on our environment, our stimuli, and how we're feeling and responding to those situations, let alone the physiological things going on in our brain. So if we have these uniquenesses in our brain, what would it look like to celebrate that? And to me, the celebration of that is the conversation on neurodiversity. I'm just going to take a second to check why I don't yet have Gopika join us, and I'm wondering what is going on. I think I'll just wait. I'll just wait for her to find her way through to joining us. While we wait for Gopika, maybe we can have her join us already. Hi Gayatri, I've just invited you into our conversation.
Hi,
So good to see you.
likewise.
So Gayatri, we're talking about neurodiversity today, and you're a parent of someone who identifies as neurodiverse. So could you share how that journey has has helped you evolve, change, or any of that?
Sorry, I'm so sorry, Megha, I couldn't get your question.
Okay, wait.
Could you, yeah,
We
there's a
have.
lag there. Yeah, yeah.
Give me a second because we have. Uh, there we go, Gopika. You finally joined us.
Yes, hi. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
So I
Hi,
just
Gayatri.
had Gayatri on board join us, and
Okay.
we're as you can see, I'm enjoying my outdoor breeze. But I hope this is not causing a disturbance with sound. If it is, please let me know and I'll move in.
No,
But the
it's good.
question I had for you, Gayatri, is how has the diagnosis changed you, your family, and what has it meant for your.
Sure. So I think when we found out about Dave's disease,
Yeah, Gayatri, you're there?
yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I found out about Dave's diagnosis, I spoke to my family members, and of course, there was a bit of, why this happened and what went wrong and all of that. But we moved on. We moved out of that phase very quickly, and my daughter, my in-laws, my parents, super supportive. We just all got together and we decided that, look, there's a problem. It's not really a problem. It's just a different child. We have to work differently. So let's really get on together as a big team and let's really work together on Devu. And it's since then it's just been amazing teamwork back at home, and Dave has only progressed because of all the support that I have. So yes, finding out the diagnosis was a bit disturbing, and people, I mean, there was a bit of that feeling of why did this happen and what went wrong. But I think when you just create that awareness of what really autism is all about, and the kind of things that he's going to struggle with or have problems with, and if you kind of have the family just know it all, I think it just becomes easier to handle. So that's been my thing with Devu.
That's beautiful. So, if you don't mind, Gayatri, I want to take this to Gopika right now and come back to you. So stay here. But
Yeah,
Gopika,
sure.
do you think you could share with our viewers and me a little bit about what is neurodiversity? Because we've just had the word autism thrown at us, and I've been talking about it. Okay, it's raining. I've been talking about
Time to
it
move
as
in. Yeah.
unique fingerprints. So, could you share?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I remember from the time that when Veer, my son, was diagnosed, and when he was diagnosed with autism, it was looked at as, okay, so this is a condition, this is a disability, and this is what he cannot do. So this is this, he will not be able to do this, not be able to do this, not be able to do this. At that time, we didn't know anything about neurodiversity in India. Now, neurodiversity is a movement which kind of flips this whole attitude or this whole concept on its head, because it says that you're looking at the brain, okay, that your brain thinks differently from my brain, which thinks differently from Gayatri's brain, right? All our brains are capable of different thought, ideation, cognition. You may be great at math, I may be awful at it, I am, and I may be great at language. Gayatri may be a superb artist. You and I might be really bad at that. Somebody else might be good at music, whatever it is. Okay, so we all have different brains, and it looks at the brains of more so. It started out looking at the brains of people who had autism as being neurodiverse, just as saying that, look, like you have a different brain which is capable of thinking in XYZ way. A person with autism has a brain which is capable of thinking in ABC way. The concept got extended to include ADHD, dyslexia, dysgraphia, also Tourette's syndrome. Some people also talk about cerebral palsy. So just to look at the concept of disability in a very different way of saying that, look, this is more of a difference. It is not so much a disability. And in that, I think what a lot of people have found is they found it very empowering, because they're saying, okay, here is an approach which doesn't tell me that my child, or that I, as a neurodiverse person, somebody who is neurodiverse, cannot do this, or does not, doesn't have to fit into this, what is called a neurotypical, and what I hate the word normal, which is used by everybody from therapists to parents to everybody, normal. They don't have to fit into this normal world. It is just that this is a brain which is capable of thinking differently. Respect it, admire it, live with it, and live alongside it. And also, the onus is also on the neurotypical world to accommodate these different brains in that sense. So it's a very different and interesting idea, I find, because it really comes from an approach of strength rather than of deficit and difficulty and abnormality in that sense. That is the traditional approach.
And I just love that explanation and what you have just said, because I think that approach of looking at the same thing from either a problem or a deviation or something that needs to be fixed or accommodated into it just being something that's part of a spectrum. And even you, who identifies as neurotypical, is as much a part of that spectrum as somebody who identifies as autistic or dyslexic or ADD or any of it. And end of the day, it's not really about how we identify as one or the other, but how we take that identification into our sense of self. Am I able to feel good and whole and complete about my sense of self with or without that identification? And other people around me, my family, my people I'm working with, the expectations of society around me, is it able to accommodate that differentiation, right? So I think the conversation we're really having about is about just this, just looking at it as a spectrum and not defining who falls into what, right?
Exactly.
So both of you are parents who've been through this journey, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you were necessarily thinking of your neurodiversity before it came and the stock came and dropped it on your doorstep. So what I'm wondering is, and I mean, there are two things that I'm thinking about. That what would it look like for parents, individuals, to not have to learn about it later, not have to accommodate into this understanding later, and two, even though it came later, what did it make possible for you? Where now, instead of me feeling grief or like you talked about, right, Gayatri, that just getting over that disappoint. I like to call it as the journey of grief, because I have this one expectation of what my journey is going to be with my family, and now I have to revisit. And it's no different than I wanted to sit outside and do this call, and now I have to sit inside and do this call. So could you share some light on that, on understanding neurodiversity after, and what do you think it could have helped to have known it from before, and why this is, which is exactly why we're having these conversations, right?
I think for me, just inclusion. I think just talking about, kids being on the spectrum, on neurodivergent kids, and having them being exposed to different situations, taking them to restaurants, taking them to parks, taking them to, them going to normal schools. I think that could create so much awareness both for parents and for kids. And I just think that would be amazing if we had that kind of a platform. Of course, we're getting there. Mumbai is really doing well. My son goes to BIS, and it is an inclusive setup. And it's very beautiful to see how he's really accommodated, with his peers. But I still feel like there's so much that people don't know of. And we need to really create that awareness. Kids need to really probably look up series on Netflix. There's such beautiful movies which have been put up there, and I think just creating that platform would really make such a big difference, and see that people accept this in a very different way than really a label to accept, So
Right.
for
Okay.
me, I
And
think
Gopika, what
that.
do you think about this?
Yeah, so Gayatri's son is much younger than my son Veer, and his diagnosis came much later, of course, and things were. I would say that even those that short span of time, I would say, how old is he now, Gayatri?
8. They was
8.
8.
Okay, so
Yeah.
he's sick. It is exactly Veer is exactly double his age. In that period of time, when Veer was diagnosed, there was very little. Okay, so there weren't characters on TV and in shows. There weren't books. There wasn't this. Instagram did not exist.
Yeah.
There were no groups on Facebook. There were no books online. There were like physical books which we had to go to this one library and get. So things were very different. And at that point of time, the concept, the whole concept of neurodiversity, like I said, while it did exist in the West, it it just did not exist over here.
Yeah.
So it was a real journey, and I think a very individual journey to go from a place of, oh my God, my kid cannot do this to, okay, my child is slightly different and I'll live with it, to the point where touch wood I have been able to reach, with of course a tremendous support and circumstances, where I've reached a point where I say, okay, he is autistic and I'm proud of it. Okay, but it's been a long journey, and I think reading about neurodiversity recently, and I think it's interesting because I didn't even know the term neurodiversity existed. But I remember watching the movie Temple Grandin, and in the last 5 minutes, she says, my mom always taught me in this very, this southern accent, and she says, I'm different, not less, and that stuck in my head, because I said, different, not less. It means it's okay that you're different. It doesn't mean that you're less, and that really, it's something which still
Yeah.
gives me goosebumps when I think about it. And it is something which I based this change of perspective, this shift in perspective on, that it's okay if my kid is different. It does not have to mean that he is less. And I think that is what kind of governed the basis of the way I brought him up, as well as the therapy that I gave my kids when I was working as a therapist. And just the fact that they're different, but that doesn't mean that they're any less or any lower than anyone else.
I have such goosebumps listening to you say that. I have this one memory actually. Yo-Yo Ma, who's this celebrated cellist, was in Bombay performing at NCPA, and I had the privilege to be able to go and hear him. And it's Yo-Yo Ma performing, and he's on the stage with just him and this cello, and everybody's quiet, and then the cacophony of and little sounds started to erupt all over the auditorium. And everyone's looking at each other and saying, stop it, damn it. You have Yo-Yo Ma sitting there waiting to connect his bow to his strings. And he just waited and he said, no matter where I perform in the world, this is always the prelude to my performance. And I have to make
Yeah.
way for it. And I just remember thinking recently, actually last week in a session, I had someone ask, what is stimming? And, there's so much anxiety around it, these involuntary movements or sounds that typically people assign with those on identifying as into neurodiversity, where they might make some sound or they might have some jerky movement, and people keep wondering, Are, why are you doing that? And that's so weird. And if only you could be Yo-Yo Ma and wait and let the coughing end. And it's okay, it's part of the performance, you don't have to get anxious about it. Because I see that
Right.
And that's the other thing that you just shared, that just the acceptance and the normalizing as a parent, when you're able to bring that to your child, what that can mean for a neurodiverse adult, because that means you are not growing up with this sense of not being
Yeah.
enough, or
Enough.
low self-esteem,
Yes.
anxiety of what you're not
Very,
doing
very true.
right or how
Absolutely.
people around you are dressing. And now, particularly for your children, it's going to be like, I exist and I'm normalized, and what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Wow.
Very true.
So can we at this point invite Rishabh, the wonderful neurodiverse identified adult, into this conversation? Uh, just give me a second. I will add
Yeah.
in. But what do you think are your children's experiences about neurodiversity while Rishabh joins us? Oh, there he is.
Hi, Rishabh.
Hi, good evening.
Hi,
Good
Rishabh.
Hi,
evening. How are
Hi,
you, Rishabh?
Rishabh. It's
I'm
such
good.
a
I'm good.
privilege.
Nice to be meeting
And it's such a
people like
privilege.
you.
Likewise. So I
Yep.
was wondering, Rishabh, how you would like to share a little bit about your own journey of finding out about your
Uh,
neurodiversity.
uh, it is a very long story, but to cut short it, like in 2007, like when I was like almost sixth standard, sixth grade, I found that I have a learning disability. I have dyslexia, dyscalculia, and dyslexia. That was my first. Uh, excuse me. गोपाल जी बंद कर दो 2 मिनट बंद करो मीटिंग चल रहा है Sorry for the disturbance. Okay. So I was in 2007. I was like I was diagnosed with learning disability. This was my first encounter with being neurodivergent, and still then I felt incomplete. I felt that, like there's more than me being dyslexic. Uh, so I was like I got to know about my autism in 2018, in 2019, at the age of 23. That is too late. That is too late. Before Until then, I was living under different identity. I should like I have to be a so-called neurodiverse person. I have I was constantly beating myself. There was lots of chaos, confusion in my life. There was chaos. Then because of that, and because of me and my family not being aware of neurodiversity or autism, uh, there were lots of trauma. So I feel so journey since 2019, my journey has been okay. The struggles are there, the challenges are there, but my journey and my thought patterns about my strength, about my challenges, or about my what to do now and what not to do, or what regarding support. Me and my family are much more aware regarding that.
And Rishabh, having that awareness, I mean,
Hmm.
I would like to assume having that awareness allows us to make room for
Yep.
a little more, what I like to use the term is thera, where
Hmm.
instead of us trying to rush and speed things along and go at a particular pace that we expect things to
Yep.
proceed as,
Yep.
it just allows for a little more pausing, aligning, and that pausing and aligning can make so many things possible for the people around you. to not feel like they're catching up, but feel like they're going along part of that journey. Do you think
Like
that's something that has helped?
I would like it has helped me. Like like, that's the like very true statement we have told now. Like I also can relate. Like before my autism diagnosis, I want to be like others. Constant comparison. Like I can't do this, I can't do that. I have to be like I have to fit in. I have to be as fast as other people. But once I knew about my autism diagnosis, I I and my family allowed me to accept it and accept like and our like I cannot our journeys will be different.
Mm.
Uh, but I'm on my own unique journey. Whether it will take time or whether it will need more support, I'm on my own journey. It allowed the thought of navigating on our own journey led led me and my family to a realization that like more accepting towards ourselves, more accepting, more like we couldn't we stopped beating ourselves. That gave me time and space to embrace myself as well as to determine my life what it should be like instead of neurotypical expectations of an individual.
That's beautiful. Gopika, would you like to share something on that?
Sure. Rishabh, I think, every time I have spoken with you, and this has been, I mean, fortunately, I think we found each other online and our friendship has only grown, which is really lovely. Um, I think what is really amazing is just how, at in a sense, how accepting that you are of who you are. And I think in that you have really helped me further accept and appreciate any kind of different brains that there are out there. And that's really, really all credit to you. So thank you for that. I wanted to ask you, since I am a parent, from your parents' perspective, how did their own sense of how they were with you, your relationship between you and your parents, how did that get impacted?
Uh, mm, like uh, I diagnosed myself with autism in 2018. So when I shared with I shared my when I told that I might be on a spectrum, or like please please I was requesting my parents to read about autism or neurodiversity and mental health. But that time before the diagnosis, it was very hard. The parents could not the parents I am not blaming my parents, but they were right at their place, because they also were not aware about all these things. But since like when I was in Dubai for my masters, I was reading. I sent a long document regarding me being on the spectrum to them. So the parents were and other mental health professionals were dismissive, and it was very lonely. But in 2019, once I was professionally diagnosed,
Hmm.
uh, most of the people around me, including my parents, were like autism है तो क्या हुआ? ऑटिज्म के साथ ऑटिज्म के साथ लीव करना, ऑटिज्म के साथ जीना पड़ेगा. Uh, the parents are right. but I was asking like condition है हम लोग को मालूम पड़ा but to help me to help me or to support me as a parent, you should you should understand it. What is it about? How neurodiverse or autistic brains work? What are the challenges? What are the strengths? So it took time for my parents to actually read about it. Uh, like from 2019 to late 2020, there were lots of conflict. There were lots of misunderstandings between me and my parents. Uh, like each time I attempted to explain them or to refer them to some site or some book or some YouTube video, they were like we don't want to be like it's negative. We don't want to add negativity in our life, and we don't want to read about it. I started explaining that like autism or neurodiversity is a condition. It is not an illness.
Right.
It has
Right. Yeah.
it has strengths also, and it has challenges also. And to and I also tell me like if you as a normal parent, if a child is happy, parents would be naturally happy. So I started convincing them with this policy. Like if the parent, when the child is happy, the parent also becomes happy. Then since 2020, my parents started reading about it. They started discussing with me, or they started they attended one autism allies course. Uh, the knowledge has increased in my parents, and because of that, our conflict or our misunderstandings have reduced to a greater extent.
Okay.
Still, it is a
That's
long
good
way
to
to
know because
go.
yeah.
Still, it is a long way
Yeah.
to go, but our journey has just started.
Lovely.
Yeah,
That's great.
that's really something for sharing all of that with us, Rishabh, because yeah, it's so important, right, to have the people around you join you and rally with you and accept this, because while of course it's important for me to do it for myself and understand, just start to understand how I fit into this world. Am I the grass? Am I the tree? Am I the moon? Am I the star? It's important for me to know who I am in
Yep.
this world. It's also important for others around me to appreciate me for being that and not constantly say, अरे तू फूल क्यों नहीं है, तू घास क्यों है,
Like
आम क्यों है,
we can't
स्ट्रॉबेरी क्यों नहीं
we
है.
can't expect the whole society to adapt or to change according to us. If we start with our parents, or if we start with our siblings or our partners, our close friends, then it makes a huge difference. So when the parents, in my experience, when the parents came into understanding, or came on board with me, I felt I felt like half of the challenge, half of the struggles is over.
For
Yep.
sure, for sure. Thank you so much. What does it mean for you, Gayatri, to hear Rishabh talk about this and to see this journey that he's on? I also want to quickly share with our people who've joined in on us. I've been reading Dr. Gabor Mate's book on scattered minds, and if any of you are interested in neurodiversity, and this is on ADHD, ADD, ADHD in particular, and Dr. Gabor Mate is this hero in this field of So his main work is in trauma and addiction, and he actually, as a doctor, as someone who's working in the space of mental health, identified himself as neurodiverse at the age of 50. So, to be honest, you are ahead of the
Yeah.
curve, Risha.
Hmm.
At 50, and yes, he went through this period that how can I, as a doctor, have not seen the signs
Right.
before and seeped in this world. And at 50, I've diagnosed myself. So it comes whenever it comes, right?
Yep.
But what does it mean for you, Gayatri, to with an 8-year-old who where you already have this understanding, where you already have, if I may call it, a head start into just integration, acceptance, and the journey is starting off with
Right.
this normalization. What does it mean for you to hear this, and what does it make
I
possible for you?
I think first of all, I just want to congratulate Rishabh. You were amazing. I love the way you voiced your opinion, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm sure your parents are equally proud of you. And it's amazing to see you so confident and out there talking about it so beautifully. And Gopika, yes, actually, from what Gopika shared, that with in her times, of course, there was not much of awareness. She had to really, I mean, she's done such a fabulous job bringing like-minded people on board and talking about, just neurodivergent kids and talking about all the kind of symptoms that fall into being on a spectrum. And I think for her, it was a bit challenge because people were not that aware. People were not really knowing much about it. But whereas in my case, with Dave, I think people know about it now. It's just how much can, you know, r- really looking at him as being different and not less, as Kopika shared, and really focusing on Dave's positives and not his negatives. I think that kind of awareness building, if we look at and focus on, uh, I just feel that's going to really hit the road. Then really looking at the diagnosis and really looking at, oh my god, what level of autism does he have, and going into all of that. So I think it's really working on his strengths and creating that awareness for him.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And Gopika, I have a question for you in relation to what it's actually, I was out for a dinner and we were talking about a really big industrialist, not industrialist, someone who's really big in the business field. And that person is known to create a very toxic work culture.
Right.
Everybody who works there hates working for that company. That person has no respect for boundaries of personal space and workspace, has very
Right.
harsh language, all of that. And these people are talking about those negative traits of that person. And then they end that conversation saying, but look at what so and so has built. And it's like this pride that sab kuch theek
Right.
hai because you have created that. And being who I am, I actually just threw a wet blanket on that table and I said, really? Does that is that money good enough reason for you to accommodate all of this? And if it is, then what is it that we're glorifying? And what is this culture and world that this dining table, which I consider people who think beyond the ideas of money, are able to still make this statement? And we make accommodations for such nastiness in the name of money. How hard is it to make accommodations, to just pause, to give people room to grow, to make accommodations for neurodiversity? And do we really need to have a justification for it? Like, हाँ ठीक है पैसा बनेगा so we will accept neurodiversity. Like, I just feel like, isn't it our duty to start even putting a protest on these things? Because you're using your energy to accept toxicity and perpetuate a different form of apathy, right?
So it's very interesting that you say that, because right from the time when a child is in school, it is almost like the school has done you a favor by accepting this child. Okay, and I am ashamed to say this, but I remember when Veer was in school, and every year or every parent teacher meeting, I would go there literally, and so nervous, and they would say, yeah, okay, he's doing okay. And now this is when there are no resources which are being deployed to help him. There is no special educator, there is no shadow teacher, there is no pull out of classroom, push into classroom, nothing. Okay. And I would literally go there, and they, I would be told, yeah, okay, so, he can go to whatever, junior KG or senior KG or whatever. And I would say, oh, thank you very much. Okay. Because it was almost like, wow, you're doing me this favor. It doesn't matter that I'm paying you all this money, or that the fact that other kids' parents just, go from junior KG to senior KG to first grade just in the blink of an eye. It's just that this whole feeling of being obligated. Again, like I said, times were very different. I know it sounds
Right.
like I'm talking about some ancient times, but it is almost like
But I'm
that.
sorry,
It
it's
reminds
not
me.
ancient. I just want to interrupt you because here we are actually in a circle of privilege
Yeah,
where
yeah,
each of us is
Absolutely.
representing privilege, because
yep,
these
of
times
course.
exist and they're actually way more archaic in many parts of our country, let alone
I
our
totally
country,
agree.
each city that we are residing in. So no, I don't think that's irrelevant, your experience. Sorry, I'm interrupting you, but
So,
I just don't
no,
want
no,
people to think that because they are struggling. Yeah, it's still
no,
as
so
worse.
not to say it's irrelevant, but it's almost like what I'm trying to say is that this is how I felt at that time. I'm going to relate this to something that I was asked during one of the interviews after my book Beyond the Blue came out, where I was asked, why did it take you so long to come out of the closet? Okay, why did it take you so long to talk about it? And I said, you know what? It did take me long, but please understand that, again, we are still living in a time of very limited acceptance.
Yep.
Okay,
Right.
awareness. I'm not even sorry, not acceptance, awareness. We
Awareness.
are
Yeah.
still living in a time where people will look at a child who has autism and say, ye to pagal hai. Okay, as harsh as it sounds, we are still living at a time where parents are told, and especially mothers are told, you have done something wrong. I have had patients who have come and cried to me and told me that every single day I am told by my family that you have done something wrong, which is why this child does not speak or this child does not do whatever, you know. And so this is the time that we are still living in. And so I said, so how can you ask me why I took so long to come out of the closet? It is, everybody has their own journey, right? Everyone
Hmm.
has their own journey of
One.
acceptance. Everyone has their own journey. And that is why I think that the whole concept of um, neurodivergence, of difference rather than deficit, is so important. I just hope that people can really understand this and really come to appreciate it and change their own perspectives, because ultimately it is not about Rishabh, it should not be about Rishabh trying to fit into the world. It should be about the world saying, yes,
Yes, we can have.
Rishabh is a
Yeah.
part of us, and let us do this to make sure that he's more comfortable. Starting from schools, where again, a simple thing like a visual schedule, which actually would benefit everybody, giving the kid a
Actually.
little movement break every
Right.
30 minutes, which would actually benefit everybody. Two
So
Everybody.
things like
yeah.
everybody. Two things
Yeah.
like at work, Rishabh, I'm sure you will agree, right? When tasks are kind of broken down and expectations are
It
laid
is
out,
excellent for all of us.
okay,
It is all.
everybody at work,
Everyone
everybody
at work will be efficient, more effective.
Exactly.
exactly,
I'll be more
you know,
efficient.
everybody would be efficient.
Likewise.
Of having feedback which is direct and more frequent rather than waiting once a year for an appraisal. I mean, everybody will benefit, right, Rishabh? Don't you
Yep,
agree?
I
We
agree to it.
should.
I definitely agree to it.
So what are these accommodations we are talking about? It's just a better way of functioning, a better way of living, a better way of educating and working, you know. But what happens? Because we live in a world where certain things are done and we've been used to doing them that way, we call them accommodations and say, oh, let's accommodate people who are
Yeah.
neurodivergent. Right? Whereas actually, we are the ones who, if we make the changes, ultimately we'll see that everybody is benefiting.
You will get a
Absolutely.
benefit.
Yeah, that's so true.
I agree to it.
And I just want to make sure everybody who's listening to us, everybody who's tuned in, everybody who's going to watch this later, it's going to be in the Trioc India Saved. We are showing you how to bring this normalization in. We are showing you how to have these conversations. We are showing you what you as an individual can do, not just you as a parent of a child who's neurodivergent, or you as an individual who's as an adult finding out that they identify neurodivergent. But this is for all of us, because end of the day, if we're talking about neurodivergence, we're talking about everybody. Every brain
Right.
Yep.
that's out there falls in a spectrum, wherever that spectrum may
Right.
be. And what would it look like to have this as more of an open accommodation, as changing our way of life? Like the movement of feminism isn't about women going out and working, it's about room being made for them, systematic
Exactly.
changes being made,
Yep.
invitations onto the table. Just like that, can we have invitations? So we're saying in feminism, men have to be involved. In neurodivergent, neurotypical have to be involved, right?
Exactly.
And, and
Correct.
and Gopika is leading this conversation on Saturday, and I would really love for all of you to join us and rally more people to be a part of this, because she's got some crazy stuff planned. She's having us act and all.
Mhm.
Lovely.
But because these conversations matter, right? They matter.
Yeah,
It,
absolutely. They
why is
do.
it that the only conversations we tend to pay attention to is of productivity and progress and money? And I don't know. Why isn't it
And the
about
thing is,
this?
Rega, it's not that there isn't productivity. It is not that there isn't progress. All that is there. But it's
It's
just
different.
changed the way of thinking. Everything is
Correct.
there. It's not that it's not there. There's efficiency, there's productivity, there's progress, there's retention, everything. Okay?
Yeah,
It's all there. It just needs to be the way of thinking, the way of perception needs to change. That's
it
all it
really
is.
does.
I
Ah,
agree.
thank you all.
Mm,
Thank you all. Thank you, Rishabh. Thank you, Gayatri, for joining Gopika and me into this conversation. You
pleasure.
all have really been so important to make this conversation more whole-bodied and more experience-driven, rather than it just being unidimensional, because your experiences matter, your stories matter, and I'm really grateful to have you both grace me
Thank you.
in
Thank
my
you.
life
Thank
with
Thank
you.
your
you. Thank
Thank you
experience.
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you.
See you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And
Bye.
Gopika,
Bye.
I'm
Yes.
so looking forward to our continuing conversation and this wonderful workshop that you are putting together for Saturday. And I hope more and more people are able to see it for what it is and join us in.
So am I, because I really hope that through the workshop, I can get people to really think about neurodivergence in a different way and to really see how their own perceptions of it are are so limited in a sense, and how we
Right.
can expand our own thinking and make our own brains,
Yeah.
neurotypical brains, a little more accommodating and a little more open to really embrace neurodivergence.
Wonderful.
Great.
Looking forward to it.
Okay.
So thank you all.
Me
Thank you
too.
all for
Thank
joining
you.
us,
Thank
and
you so
see you
much.
on Saturday.
All the best.
See you. Bye.
Bye.